Once upon a time, there was a man who was a merchant and had enough money. He had 4 sons, all of whom were of working age. After his wife died, he remained a widower and did not marry again. After living with his sons for a year, he had difficulty because he did not have a housewife to cook and help take care of the household goods. He married his eldest son and brought his daughter-in-law to live with him, dividing his property evenly between the eldest son and the eldest son. After a year, he found a wife for his second son, dividing his property equally. Then he married his third son, dividing his property equally. When the 4th year came, he married his 4th son, dividing his property equally. Only one house remained undivided. He left it to all of them, and he divided his property until he died. Therefore, he thought that he would be alone and would wait for his children to earn a living and support him until he died. However, his thinking was completely wrong. When he was with his 4 sons, they loved each other very much and never separated from their father and brothers. When they each got their own wives, they separated from each other. They were not happy together and were always quarreling. Little by little, they all left their homes to build houses in different places, leaving their widowed father alone and homeless. When the 4 sons had just left their father's house, they would give their father a little food every day. When they all had children, sometimes when the husband was busy going to a distant country to sell goods, the wife was at home but the husband was not there and there were children. They would give their father some food and water. Some of the elders thought that maybe their younger brother had given it to them. Some of the elders thought that their younger brother had given it to them. The sons and daughters thought so, each according to their own. Over time, the father would not have enough food. Sometimes he would have some. When the husband came home from work and found out about this, he blamed his wife. Some of the wives made excuses, saying that their children were sick. Others that they were busy helping relatives and neighbors. Whatever the husband's wife wanted, the husband followed suit. As for the widow, she had no food, no clothes, and had to beg for food. She suffered greatly. She sold her old house for no money. She had no shelter. At that time, a young man, who was kind and learned, knew the laws and customs, and knew many good and bad things. He came to see the widow in the neighboring village. He felt sorry for her and asked, "Grandpa, I used to see you as a wealthy man. Your parents used to rely on you. How come you are so miserable now? What if you have 4 sons? Why do they not take care of you at all? What if your wealth is still there? Why don't you buy food and drink?" The old man replied, "Oh, my dear, why are you hiding it? You had enough wealth, but you were so kind to your children that you gave them all of it. You thought that you would support them. Now that they have a wife and children, they see that you have all your wealth, they don't even think about you. They follow their wife and go into the crab hole. You are always sick and alone, miserable, sleeping with your pillow covered in blood. Sometimes you don't have breakfast or dinner. Sometimes you don't have anything, and you don't do any business because you are old and can barely walk. As you can see, you are waiting until the day you die." The young man exclaimed, "Yes. Your son is so evil. If that's the case, don't be afraid. There is a way to make you happy like before." The old man followed. Let the old man find a jar with a small mouth, enough to fill it with urine and feces, and find a piece of cloth to close the mouth, and bury it in the ground near the base of the pillar of the house. If anyone comes to give it to him, the old man will tell them, "I have a jar of gold and silver buried, but I haven't given it to any of my children yet. Let's see which child will be grateful. If I'm about to die, I will give it to that child." The old man tells the people he meets, "In the next few days, don't go begging for money anymore. Wait for me to bring you some rice and water to drink. Don't worry. The old man then begins to follow the example of all his kind-hearted grandchildren. After about 5 days, the old man's words reached his 8 sons and sons-in-law. They were greedy for the treasure, but each of them brought rice, water, cakes, all kinds of ripe fruits, and clothes to please his father every day, without lacking anything. The old man was cured of his illness, had fresh blood, had great strength, and was happy and healthy from that day until the end of his life. When the old man died, the sons and daughters performed the traditional funeral rites. The 4 sons and the sons-in-law dug up the treasure jar and divided it among themselves, but fearing that it would not be divided equally and lead to quarreling, they went to a monk to help divide it. The monk agreed, but when he heard that the treasure was as much as a jar of gold and silver, he wanted a share, and he thought to himself, "He who divides the treasure will get more than the children." He quickly arrived at the treasure house, wrapped himself in a large blanket, and his head was so big that it was like a pot being lifted upside down. He sat down on the ground, his shoulders flat, his shoulders straight, facing east. He told his 4 children to go and get the treasure jar. However, he warned them not to open the jar, lest they do something wrong. Wait for his order. When he got the jar, he had the 4 children stand in all 4 directions. The 4 children all held the jar with their hands, lifted it up, held it over their heads, and untied the jar's lid, and tilted the jar's mouth to pour the treasure on their heads. If the treasure fell in any direction, it went to the person standing in that direction. If any treasure remained on the head, he was awarded a prize by the teacher. All 4 children obeyed the teacher's order, not daring to break it. The 4 wives stood holding their own jars, waiting to be served. While the treasure was being distributed, the villagers nearby also watched. But they lifted the jar and opened it, tilted it, and poured out the water soaked in feces. It poured over the teacher's head and scattered it in all directions, staining his face and shirt, even his 4 wives. The teacher got the most, smelling bad, saying that it was not right. They saw the teacher blushing, losing his face and appearance, struggling to get up, embarrassing all the monks who were standing there watching. The monks were shocked and ran away to their respective homes. The teacher shouted at his 4 children and his son-in-law, "You bastard, you evil ghost, you evil master. You are all evil." The teacher and the students ran quickly, jumped into the river, tried to wash away their sins for an hour each, and then went up to their respective homes, feeling bitter and regretful, ashamed of their children and grandchildren.